Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Connor, and I'll be your host today. Today we have a great speaker, Ben Snyder, and he will be joined by his colleague, Tim Stoyer, who will be answering your questions in the chat. Please feel free to ask questions throughout the session in the Q&A. Sorry, he will not be answering your questions in the chat. Please put them in the Q&A. So he will be answering them in the Q&A throughout the session, but we'll also have a specific Q&A part at the very end of the session. And then without further ado, Ben, take it away.
Great, thanks, Megan. Hello, welcome everybody, also from my side. It's really great to be here and to have the possibility to rerun the IIS 107 session combined with the Q&A session from TechEd last year. So the title of the session is Find the Right ALM Solution for Your Cloud Journey. And we just wanted to sort of mix a little bit what we showed at TechEd and also have the opportunity for you to ask your questions. So as Megan already said, Tim Stoyer is here with me in the session, and he will be answering your questions, which you type in during the presentation in the Q&A part. And also, as Megan said, we'll have a dedicated Q&A after the session. So we have about 20 minutes of presentation, and then we'll go into an open Q&A mode. So please ask your questions. And what we'll also do at the end of the presentation, as some of you already asked some questions at the blog in the SAP Community, which I wrote before this session some weeks ago, we'll also have a look at those questions and try to shed some light and give some answers to those questions already posted there. So I'll be sort of sharing the blog and the questions there, and we'll have a look at them as well. So as Megan said, my name is Ben Snyder. I'm in the Customer Communications and Relations team for Application Lifecycle Management. So our team, also Tim, who's actually my manager, we're doing, well, customer communications. We'd like to meet customers and partners. Currently, we do that mostly online, as we do right now. We also do rollouts at events. We do, of course, a lot of TechEd and Sapphire stuff. We prepare presentations for our leadership teams. We do project management, program management internally, and a lot of things more. We do social media for application lifecycle management and so on. So that's basically where we are, where's our home inside the ALM family. And what we like to do now is to have a little light on the question, what's the right ALM solution for your cloud journey? And for this, of course, yeah, rerunning this for the community. So, of course, welcome everybody from the community. I'm an SAP champion myself, so I'm also actively participating in the SAP community. And here are some links. If you're new to the community, please just click on the tutorial so you get some insights there. And if you don't already follow our tags in the community, please click on the links down there just to follow the tags which we have in the community. So you get the latest updates. If there's any new posts on ALM, on our tools, and so on, you'll be notified as well. Of course, we have our usual legal disclaimers. So anything I say, especially forward-looking statements, are fully binding to this legal disclaimer. So if you have a minute, you could easily read through that if you like. Having said that, the agenda for that call is pretty short, as the session originally at TechEd was a 20-minute session, and this one right now, which we're doing, is sort of the combination of this presentation and the Q&A, which we had at TechEd as two separate sessions. And I'm just going to talk very briefly about the ALM software from SAP, which I saw also some familiar names in the participant list. So many of you, I would assume, are already familiar with the topic. And then I'd like to elaborate a little bit about the idea, what we currently propose on how to find the right ALM solution for your cloud journey for the future, what decisions you need to take, what could be the impact for those decisions, and so on. So let's very briefly start. One famous slide which we have, which we're using for quite some time actually, from the ALM introduction, which we do, is that's our portfolio. So we have 3 strategic ALM solutions, which hopefully match customer reality. And when we start from the left side, we have SAP Solution Manager, of course, as our major application lifecycle management tool. It has been around for, I think it's almost 15 years now, and or even more. And so I'm with Solution Manager since 2003, so it must be more than 15 years actually. So this is our tool, which is in the market for quite a long time, which has grown, which is very mature, and which is our solution for hybrid scenarios, for hybrid customer solutions, with an on-premise centric focus. So you also see that little house down there and the cloud beside it. So the house is bigger than the cloud, which means we have Solution Manager as our central tool for on-premise centric customers, which means the gravity of your solution is on-premise. When we talk about hybrid in that whole area, we mean hybrid with the gravity on-premise, but of course there also can be cloud products involved and your business processes go back and forth. So that's when we talk about hybrid, and Solution Manager is our primary ALM solution for that scenario. Next one is SAP Focused Run. Recently, new version 3.0, which has been released some not so long ago. And SAP Focused Run is our offering for customers who have special needs in operations, so in operating their solution. And special needs meaning they have a large-scale landscape, many thousand agents reporting data to SAP Focused Run to be operated, to be monitored. And we have different monitoring use cases. And with special needs, we also mean that, of course, and obviously, SAP Solution Manager has a very comprehensive operations environment, which is application operations for the more technical stuff and business process operations for your business process monitoring and so on, and business process improvement. And SAP Focused Run goes a little bit beyond that. So if sort of Solution Manager capabilities are not what you're looking for because you have a large scale landscape and you have other needs in reporting which go beyond what Solution Manager can offer, then SAP Focused Run would be the tool of choice for you. Just from a technical perspective, Focused Run is a separate product. So it's not something like a Solution Manager clone or follower or something. It's a separate product which has been developed natively, which is also separately licensed. So that's also the difference between Solution Manager and Cloud ALM versus Focused Run. Focused Run is a price list item. It's not part of your subscription or your maintenance contract with SAP. That's the difference between Solution Manager and SAP Cloud ALM, also from a licensing perspective. And last but not least, on the right-hand side, we have SAP Cloud ALM for hybrid cloud solutions. It's the newest kid on the block. It's a new addition to the ALM family, released in the late summer last year, followed by a trial period for customers. And now we're open for everyone who needs or wants to use SAP Cloud ALM. It's again a natively developed from scratch. So this is a standalone cloud native product or ALM offering, which has a clear focus on cloud. So in the past, in the last months, you could only use SAP Cloud ALM for cloud products, for example, SAP S/4HANA Cloud. Now we're of course opening that as well. That's also why it says hybrid cloud solutions in the title of that product here, because we're opening up SAP Cloud ALM to also reach into the on-premise sphere. So you can also manage on-premise products with SAP Cloud ALM. Cloud ALM, from a development perspective, again, is something where we do things completely differently than we did before. Cloud ALM, we have a new development model internally, so we can deliver new features basically every day. We package them, we release them every 2 weeks, and we are very flexible and agile in adding new features. And also the idea of Cloud ALM was we start small from a functional scope and also which products SAP Cloud ALM can be used for. We started very small, and we're continuously expanding this in both directions, meaning we add more features and we add more products which are supported from SAP Cloud ALM in that case. So this will be growing a lot over the next years. This will get more and more important, and we also add new features continuously, and we add new products which you can, where you can sort of do ALM for with SAP Cloud ALM. So that's our strategic offering. That's what we talk about in this session right now. From a focus of the session, we're going to focus on SAP Solution Manager and SAP Cloud ALM. So we sort of leave SAP Focused Run a little bit aside. That has two main reasons. The one is that, as I said, it's not for every customer SAP Focused Run would be relevant, because, for example, Solution Manager from an operations perspective might cover most of your needs already. And also you can operate Focused Run beside both Cloud ALM or Solution Manager. Sometimes it makes more sense than in other cases. That's something to be discussed. But in general, Focused Run is sort of a standalone operations product, operations platform, which you can operate alongside Solution Manager and could also operate alongside Cloud ALM if it makes sense. So we now got to focus on the idea of on what's the right ALM solution, mainly between Solution Manager and SAP Cloud ALM. When we go there, let's just have some initial thoughts. And what we wanted to do very briefly is we sort of wanted to find some customer situations. And we talked to a lot of customers. That's what we do all the time, basically. And we found 4 generic use cases which we see at most of our customers that might not fit for anybody perfectly, but that's the majority of our customers, which we could sort of put into one of those 4 use cases. And if we briefly go through those use cases, I hope that anybody of you who's joining or who has joined the session finds himself or his company somewhere in one of those use cases. And from there, we sort of want to derive what could be the right way to go on with an ALM solution in the future. Use case number 1, very simple. Customer has an on-premise centric solution and plans to keep it. I think that's the majority of our customers right now. So you have a solution, maybe a big one, maybe not so big, it doesn't really matter here, which here has its gravity on premise. So the majority of your systems are on premise somewhere, maybe in your own basement or at some of your operating, hosting, whatever company partner. And you want to stay there. So you maybe have some cloud, maybe using SuccessFactors for HR topics or Concur for doing travel and business, travel management and so on. But the majority is on premise and you want to stay there. So and there's nothing wrong with that. And to have it very simple, the recommendation for this scenario for an ALM tool from an ALM perspective is SAP Solution Manager. For the future, you might also be wanting to look into Cloud ALM, but we will talk about that later. But generally speaking, and this has been the recommendation for many years, Solution Manager is our recommendation if you have an on-premise centric solution and you want to stay that way. Vice versa, the other way around, we have case number 2, which is a customer with a cloud-centric solution or cloud only. So maybe you're a new customer who started with SAP S/4HANA Cloud, for example. Then it wouldn't make sense to have an on-premise ALM tool for you to run, because that's not the idea behind going all into cloud. So then obviously SAP Cloud ALM is the tool of choice for this customer situation if you're cloud-centric or cloud only. Next use case, you are a very small standard on-premise customer. So we have customers, and I think we have quite some customers who have a small solution. Maybe you have an ERP or you have a rather small S4 installation, which is on-premise. And here we clearly change, for example, if it's a business suite or if it's an S/4HANA, you can use SAP Cloud ALM. In the past, we would have said, well, please go with Solution Manager. But the idea is also, especially in this case, if you're a small standardized customer, no modifications in the landscape, nothing fancy, no legacy systems and so on. Of course, you can use Solution Manager for that, but the effort of running Solution Manager in that, let's say, rather small situation might be quite high for your company. So Cloud ALM could be the perfect alternative, because Cloud ALM is easy to set up, it's easy to run, it will support you also with the on-premise part of your solution in case of Business Suite and S4. And you have a much more lightweight way of doing ALM than you had with Solution Manager. So that's the reason why we have the recommendation of Cloud ALM for this use case. Last but not least, case number 4, that's sort of the transition use case, how we also call that internally. You are on-premise or on-premise centric, but you want to move to the cloud, or you want to move to a more standardized ALM environment. And then, well, that's also quite easy. It's either or. So of course, we need to look into this a little bit deeper, but in general, you can do Solution Manager. You would use Solution Manager for doing ALM for your on-premise centric scenario. And Solution Manager can also manage the cloud parts of your hybrid on-premise centric scenario. But in the future, if you want to move to the cloud, the ALM tool has to follow. And then we also need to support you moving from SAP Solution Manager to SAP Cloud ALM. And that's the transitioning use case from an ALM perspective. And we also want to support you in this use case if you want to go from on-premise to the cloud. And that's nothing you decide on a Friday afternoon, and then on Monday it's all done. This is a strategic decision inside your company. But we, from SAP, we need to provide ways for you that your ALM solution can follow from on-premise to cloud, and that's what we want to offer also in the future. Before we go on with what's the right ALM solution, I just want to highlight very briefly that it's not just, so when you move to the cloud, it's not just moving your ALM from your own data center to your hosting data center. That's, well, some would consider that moving to the cloud, but there's more behind that. And especially if you really go, for example, into public cloud scenario, there's also a mindset change behind that. And I would like to talk a little bit about that, because that's also part of the decision which you and your company or the strategy people in your company need to keep in mind, that when you move from on-premise to the cloud, there's also changes in how you work with the software and how you operate your software and how you implement changes in the software and so on. And that sometimes gets a little bit forgotten, but from our perspective, this is very important to understand and to keep in mind, because this will also influence your decision on where you want to go. And if we look at that very briefly, from an implementation approach, for example, to have the first line in that table, in an on-premise centric world, if you're using Solution Manager, for example, or also in the private cloud environment, which has Solution Manager at its side, when you implement, for example, using Focus Build in Solution Manager, it's a fit gap approach. So you sort of have your processes being described, or you use content to implement processes, and then you describe the gaps which you see in there. You need to fill those gaps, you need to close those gaps, and then you can implement the process. In a public cloud environment, so talking about cloud ALM, the implementation approach of implementing a business process, implementing new or changes to your process and so on, it's a fit to standard approach. So that's the complete other way around. We start from a standardized content, which comes with SAP Cloud ALM, which is pre-delivered, which is sort of pulled into the tool automatically. So that's your starting point. And then you implement the standard process and you sort of can do some modifications, but the idea is not to have a completely modified process. The idea is rather to have a fit to standard approach with your processes and the processes which are coming with the software, which are coming from the content. And the same goes for operating your solution. When you operate your solutions on premise, you or your IT or your hosting partner, they have the full access and full control over your systems, of your applications, and over your processes. And that's what you want to have in a private or in an on-premise environment. That's the reason why you do that, actually. Moving to public cloud, you sort of give up parts of the control, but that's also, again, the reason why you do that, because if you are in the cloud environment, you want to control the application to a certain degree, and you want to control the process because the process is yours. That's what you run your company on. So of course you need to have full control on that. But all of the, let's say, more technical down to earth stuff, that's nothing you want to take care about. That's one of the major reasons to move into the cloud, to have that being handled by the cloud provider. And that's also something you need to understand, and you need to keep in mind that when operating your cloud solutions, you sort of have a certain degree of control, but that ends at a certain level, and the rest will be taken over by your cloud provider. From a release schedule, that's the same in your on-premise or private cloud environment. You fully control the release schedule. So when you'll introduce new releases of your processes or your new releases of your software, that's fully controlled by you. In a public cloud environment, and also, of course, that control over the release schedule also is for your ALM tool itself. So for Solution Manager, you decide when you implement new features, new support packages, and so on. In a public cloud environment, that's different. The idea of having that control is that the control over the software is in the hands of SAP. So we bring new features into the tool. We run that tool for you. We add new content. We add new features, exactly. So that's also something you need to understand, that you give up some control, but that's nothing bad. That's something you want to have, or you want to achieve by going into the cloud. And last but not least, from a data center perspective, of course, there's a lot of flavors and variations out there, but on-premise is, let's say, your own data center, whatever that means, your own company or your hoster or whatever. The private cloud might be hosted or at a hyperscaler, and public cloud clearly is fully operated in hyperscalers. So that's also sort of well, where is my software located? That's completely different, and you need to know about that. And of course, this is also important for when planning a move from one to the other. So with this, I just wanted to highlight a little bit that there's also a mindset change behind that. That it's not only the technical stuff of we have something in our own cellar, now we're going to move it to somebody else's cellar basically, or into the cloud. It's also that there's the way of how you work, and from an ALM perspective, the way of how you do application lifecycle management is completely different than between those two worlds. From Cloud ALM, and many of you might have seen that slide, we made it available since last year, and we want to extend the scope. I said that already, into 2 dimensions. The first one being functional, so we extend the functionality, and the second one being the product coverage, which means we add new products which you can do ALM for. And in the end, we plan to extend the scope, the function scope, for the complete life cycle. We started small and we continuously enrich this. And we also want to cover all components of the intelligent enterprise. And of course, just nobody gets nervous, we go beyond 2023 for sure. That's more from a legal perspective. Our roadmaps always look 3 months ahead. So we just have to put that on those slides. But the development planning and the backlog of Cloud ALM, of course, continues to fully be enhanced and enriched also beyond 2023. From a transition perspective, and I think I said that already, it really depends on where the gravity of your solution is. And that might not be so easy to determine in any way. Sometimes it's very clear. But if you're on premise, if the gravity of your solution is on premise, then Solution Manager is the clear tool of choice for application lifecycle management. The same goes for the other way around. So if you are a cloud customer, or if you want to move to the cloud, if your gravity shifts to the cloud, then also Cloud ALM will get more important as the tool of choice for doing application lifecycle management. And when you plan this transition, so when your company has made a decision, we want to move to the cloud, we will sort of change the gravity where our solution, which our solution has. From an ALM perspective, you sort of need to find your tipping point, and that's something which is individually, or which is an individual decision by every customer, how to do that and when this tipping point will be. And there's some boundary conditions and limitations for that as well. So if we have those 2 dimensions, having cloud on premise and individual versus standardized ALM on the x-axis, Solution Manager clearly is in the lower left quadrant. It's an on-premise centric tool, and with individual ALM, somebody in the past also liked to call Solution Manager the Swiss Army knife for ALM. So you can do everything, basically everything with that. It's highly configurable. It provides engines which are very, very flexible. But at the same time, it's a lot of effort you sometimes need to put in to have those engines work exactly as you need them to do so. And on the other way around, or on the other side, in the cloud space, the SAP Cloud ALM is a highly standardized product. That's how cloud is thought of mainly. It's consolidating the landscapes. It's following a clear fit to standard approach, and also extensions you do differently on the cloud platform and on the business technology platform as you would do in Solution Manager. So, and this tipping point, it depends on the whole decision on your strategy moving to the cloud. And as I said before, the ALM solution then should follow. And of course, this also depends on your Solution Manager usage. If you're a heavy user of Solution Manager and Cloud ALM follows its own development schedule, you might check if Cloud ALM fulfills all the needs which you need for ALM before switching over. And that's also very important. And I'm going to show you how you can find that out in a second, what Cloud ALM supports currently, and how you can find out how that fits to your scenario. So finding this tipping point, I think, is very important. Once the decision has made inside your company, moving from on-premise to cloud-centric. If the decision has not been made, if you want to stay, again, remember the use case number 1, that's perfectly fine. So Solution Manager might already be actively used inside your landscape, and that's the way to go. So that's also very easy. Again, keep in mind, Cloud ALM will be continuously enhanced. And even if you want to stay on premise, you can check recurringly, you can check back if maybe Cloud ALM supports all you need in ALM from an ALM perspective. And you can switch over because it might be easier to operate. It might be nicer to consume. It might be fit better into your teams who operate your solution. So that's also something you should consider when having this whole transition use case in the back of your mind. We always get the question, well, I'm using Solution Manager and now there's Cloud ALM and what can I do? And for various reasons, and one being that we start small with Cloud ALM and we enhance it over the next years. We currently recommend to our Solution Manager customers, so those who are actively using SAP Solution Manager already, please just continue to do so. And starting next year, we recommend that you check Cloud ALM. You should check it out from our demo system, which we have. You can check out something I'll show you in a second, the feature lists of Cloud ALM and also which solutions are supported by Cloud ALM. And then maybe after 2022, you might at one point in time have the decision or do the decision that you want to move from Solution Manager to Cloud ALM because it makes sense for you. The tool supports everything you need, and it's sort of different. It's a different way to operate your solution, and you don't have to run Solution Manager anymore. That might be a valid decision, but at the same time, you see that target or that arrow going on for Solution Manager. So it's completely valid to stay on Solution Manager and regularly come back checking what Cloud ALM can do for you, and maybe thinking about that switch to Cloud ALM at some point in the future. But currently, if you're using Solution Manager, please just continue to do so. I dare to say, please enjoy doing so, but I hope you do. And maybe also trying focused solutions if you want to have a different approach of implementing projects, or if you need focused insights from a dashboarding perspective. And then just check back with us with SAP Cloud ALM after 2022. Something I wanted to share with you, and one of those two links is a brand new, well, let's call it a tool. It's a small informative tool which you can use. How you can find out if Cloud ALM might be fitting for your scenario, for your requirements. We have in the SAP Help portal, we have the What's New in SAP Cloud ALM section. And this first one here, which I can also show that to you in a second, that's basically a feature description. So you will see which features have been added. As we have our continuous delivery going on, we continuously add new features to Cloud ALM. They will be listed in here, and you can see in the various areas, operations and implementations, what it can do for you and what it's in there. The second one is the very new supported solutions tool. And with the supported solutions tool, you can find out which SAP solutions are supported by Cloud ALM in which area. So again, are we supporting, let's say, success factors for implementing, from task management, from test management, but also from operations? Which type of monitoring can you do for success factors and so on? So the first one is a feature list. The second one is a list which tools are supported by Cloud ALM. And that's, I think, very helpful resources just to find out what is there. Let's just have a brief look at the new supported solutions right now. So that's in the help portal. It's just a table in the end, and this will continuously be enhanced and updated by our teams. And the idea of that table is that you can filter for a product which you are interested in, and then you will see the according capabilities of Cloud ALM. And as it is not coming up, we had that issue yesterday, I think, as well in one of our sessions. To be honest, I'm not fully sure why the help portal is not supporting me right now. You can see there seems to be some issues with the search. I apologize for that. That's always the risk when you do live demos. So please check back once this works again, and you can have a look at these tools. So before we now go into the Q&A, I just want to have a very short look on the move to Cloud ALM. So basically, yes, we will support moving from Solution Manager to Cloud ALM. We also support this with tools. We will support this with something like best practices and white papers and what you need. That's currently not existing, to be very open. We will work together with customers, so we really understand what you need when moving from Solution Manager to Cloud ALM, but this process will start. So we start collaboration with customers and we collect information, and we will start working also on how you can transition from Solution Manager to Cloud ALM. What will not happen, even if there might be, if you switch, there might be the scenario that you have Solution Manager and Cloud ALM running in parallel for a certain period of time. That might be the case. But in the end, what we do not plan to offer is a federation, which means you have those two tools and there's like data being exchanged continuously going back and forth. There's synchronization of test cases or process steps or monitoring KPIs or what you have. That's not what we plan. So we still have this single source of truth in mind for ALM. And yes, there might also be the scenario where you have your implementation being done by Solution Manager and your operations being done by Cloud ALM. That might be a valid scenario. And there's a single source of truth, meaning the implementation part is in Solution Manager and the operations part is in Cloud ALM. That's perfectly fine. But you won't have like those full tools in full use and having constant data exchange between those two tools. That's not what we aim for. So that's current state of planning. We are working on that. For the future to also provide a way to move from one tool to the other. To summarize and to go into the questions and answer session, well, I haven't talked a lot about Solution Manager from a functional perspective, but it is our #1 tool for on-premise centric customers. With Focus Build, we have very powerful ways to help you in doing, for example, SAP S/4HANA implementations, and it's continuously being updated with functions and features. And we also plan to have a new customer connection for Solution Manager by the end of this year. For Cloud ALM, it's clearly our recommendation, our #1 tool for cloud-centric customers. It's a complementary offering, of course, so it's not a successor or anything. Those tools are side by side. They are parallel offerings of SAP, of course, and Focused Run as the third one, not to be forgotten. And also Cloud ALM, if in the context of RISE with SAP, which our new business transformation offering from SAP, which got introduced at the end of January. Cloud ALM is the standard ALM recommendation for most use cases also in RISE. We'll have more information on RISE and ALM in the next couple of weeks coming out, but that's just a generic information that Cloud ALM is, because RISE is all about moving into the cloud. Of course, Cloud ALM is also our standard recommendation. So to sort of wrap things up, how you choose your solution is mainly according to the gravity of your solution landscape. Having said that, we have some links in the presentation as well, and you will surely get the presentation afterwards. We have our standard ALM pages on the support portal, which, by the way, and I'd just like to remind any one of you, we update that regularly. So that's really our central point beside the community, where we roll out information via blogs and events. The landing page in the support portal is our central channel of communication. We have a brand new page there, which is focusing on all our events. So we do a lot of events this year, all virtual, of course. So we'll have our famous ALM summits again this year. We do our regular ALM community calls, which is the second link on here every month. There will be a new series of calls coming up on Cloud ALM, especially also starting in April, most likely. And we have other things, so just check that out. And of course, check out the community page for ALM, for Application Lifecycle Management in the SAP community. There's a ton of information. There's a very nice blog series from Jagmohan Chavla, our colleague from the product management, about Cloud ALM implementation. There's a lot of new things coming out. Tomorrow, there'll be some interesting blogs coming out on Tricentis and Solution Manager. So please also go to the community and check out what we have there. Having said that, before we open up, and I also saw there's also questions in the Q&A pod, and Tim is heavily answering them already in the back. So thanks, Tim, for doing that. I'd like to go to the community and just check out some of the questions which had been posted down there below this blog, which I published in the beginning of February. And let's just have a brief look. I already tried to provide some answers here. The first presentation or the first question was about focused run. This person said he has not a clear path for focused run versus Cloud ALM Solution Manager. And I hope I already answered this question in the beginning. So focused run is one of our 3 strategic offerings for customers with special needs, which go beyond what Solution Manager can offer in operations perspective. So that's, and it can run side by side as both other tools like Cloud ALM and Solution Manager. Well, if you're in a fully cloud environment and you're using Cloud ALM, it might not be an option to have focused run as an on-premise tool beside that, but there also might not be any needs because Cloud ALM provides a lot of very, very advanced operational and monitoring functions already. So focused run, as I said, is sort of a little bit special in a positive way, that it's for customers with special needs in operations. And focused run does not contain any implementation offerings. So the whole build part or implementations part, either from Solman or Cloud ALM, is not in focused run. So it's a pure operational platform for customers with large scale landscapes, service providers, and so on. Second question was, we're running for Solution Manager for many years, using it for ALM and monitoring, but also starting to use some cloud products like Ariba and Fieldglass. And will there be any benefits for us to start using Cloud ALM for these products, or shall we stay with Solution Managers own the ALM tool? So I also hope I answered this question during the session already. So of course you can do ALM also for Ariba and Fieldglass with Solution Manager. That's what we call a hybrid solution from an on-premise centric perspective. So it would not make sense to have a singular Cloud ALM instance for Ariba and Fieldglass, and everything else is in Solution Manager. That wouldn't make many sense. And in this case, it would really come into play that you define the gravity of your solution, and you check out if, maybe not right now, if you're using Solution Manager from an overall perspective, if it makes sense to go to Cloud ALM maybe in 2 or 3 years, because it does all you need and it's easier to run. Maybe that could be a valid way of going. But currently, I would clearly recommend you stay with Solution Manager as your ALM tool for the time being, and continuously have an eye on Cloud ALM. Maybe it might be valuable for you once it has reached a certain functional level. Third question here, and then we're gonna sort of open a little bit, is how long can we use Solution Manager on premise? What will happen after 2022? Well, actually nothing will happen after 2022, because Solution Manager is in mainstream maintenance until 2027. And even after that, it will not stop working. It will just be the way it is, and it will be a very mature and round product, what it is already. And so it's completely fine to use Solution Manager and to continue to do so. And Cloud ALM, yes, it's a complementary offering to Solution Manager. What else does it offer me more than Solman? Well, that's a difficult question. It's, from a function perspective, smaller than Solution Manager. It will be enhanced continuously, but it has its own development schedule, and it has its own way of development and advancing it. So the idea is, these are complementary offerings, and they have a different target group, so they will be also developed individually. Okay, I'm just getting the message we are already out of time. I'm sorry for that. So there's also some more information. I provided an answer down here to this question with a little more details. And let me just briefly check the Q&A pod, but there's no open questions currently. So Tim answered all of them already, which is great. Thanks very much for that support.
Also,
and
ask questions on the community page, as Tim has linked in the chat as well, following this session.
Great. So sorry for being so going over time a little bit, but I see that you got the answers to your questions also in the chat from Tim and in the Q&A pod. So if there's no further questions currently, I hope you enjoyed being part of the session. thanks for joining. Thanks for spending the time with us. And if there's further questions, please put them into the blog down there below the blog. And having said that, thank you very much. Thanks, Tim, for supporting. Thanks, Megan. Over to you.